Hi everyone, welcome back to my coronavirus diaries. The date today is Monday, April 13th. I am filming this at about 7 p.m. tonight. Want to give you some numbers for today. Alaska has had 814 confirmed cases and we've tested about 10,900 people. That's both positive and negative testing. That's for statewide in Nebraska. In the Omaha area, CHI Health is taking care of 19 positive COVID patients and we are ruling out 25 patients. For some context, nationally, worldwide, the United States has 524,514 confirmed cases and there are more than 20,000 deaths confirmed in the United States as of today, Monday, April 13th. In the world, there are 1.7 million confirmed cases and 111,828 deaths. All these numbers can be found on the World Health Organization's website. They have a very interactive website that updates daily. Talk about some major hospital changes that were rolled out this week. A lot of them have to do with our low hospital census. I did tell you guys last week that we just haven't been having very many patients in the hospital because everyone's staying home, and because of that they are sending a lot of nurses home. When they send nurses home from the hospital, they call it a staff reduction. If you are staff reduced from the hospital, if the hospital doesn't need you because there's not enough nurses, you get to stay home, and if you want to get paid for that day, you have to use your PTO hours. Now this has been going on for probably 2 or 3 weeks now, so a lot of people were being sent home either without pay or they had to use their PTO hours to be paid. That happened to me a couple times this past 2 weeks, so actually my paycheck was a lot smaller than I'm used to it being, just because I was sent home a couple times. So they have made some major changes because of all the staff reducing. First of all, they got rid of our VIP pay program. Our VIP pay program helped the nursing units in the hospital stay properly staffed by adding monetary incentives to shifts that were low on needed nurses. So the way this worked is the incentives typically ranged from $1 to $20 extra per hour, depending on the need for nurses for that particular shift. This was sort of a financial motivation for nurses to pick up shifts on days that were not staffed as well. That was prior to this whole COVID pandemic, but now with the hospital not having as many patients as we're typically used to having, they went away with that program completely. Unfortunately, it has affected a lot of nurses that relied on the incentives for their regular paycheck, including myself. I know ultimately the hospital is trying to balance the change in hospital census and making sure that money flow is being used wisely during this unprecedented time. So I definitely understand it from that standpoint, but I know a lot of people are hurting financially right now because of that choice. Along with eliminating the VIP pay program, the hospital came up with a new and I think temporary way for nurses and other members of the healthcare team to get their full hours in, even if they are not in need in their particular units. So they gave us all 2 options. Option 1 guarantees you your hours, but if they don't need you at your nursing unit, you would go to a labor pool instead, and then they'd find a job for you to do. Now, they've stated that they would try to keep nurses in a clinical setting, but when my supervisor called me to tell me about this, she said it could be any job, and I quote, "You could be painting a wall," is what she said. It honestly kind of sounds awful, showing up to my job and not knowing what type of work I'm going to do for 12 hours. But again, I appreciate the hospital finding a way for me to get my hours in, so I don't have to use all of my PTO right now and waste it. Now, the second option that they gave employees was to take the staff reductions and use your PTO to replace those hours. The hospital would give you a leeway of 40 PTO hours, but those hours do have to be paid back. So they would allow us to go into negative 40 hours, but again, the hours have to be paid back. I was told if the hospital cuts your hours for more than 10% of your normal hours, then the next option would be to file for unemployment. Now, I thought the wisest choice was to take option one, even though this low census and staff reduction deal should be temporary. I don't want to be in a very surreal situation that would be filing for unemployment as a registered nurse during these times. Those are two of the big major changes that occurred in the hospital this week. There is one last thing I want to touch on, just kind of reiterating the seriousness of this situation. This week in the hospital, we had a free lawyer so that us nurses, doctors, and respiratory therapists could write our living wills and advance directives. If you've never been in a hospital setting before, you may not have heard of these things before. Just kind of a little brief explanation of what they are. These are legal documents that outline your final wishes while you are alive. Whether you want CPR performed on you when your heart stops beating, and whether you want a tube down your throat if you stop breathing. Everything that is going on in the hospital right now is meant to prepare us for what is coming. And although I am appreciative of the time that we have to prepare, being a nurse does not make me immune to feelings of fear and anxiety. And all I can say is that thinking about writing a living will at the age of 25, it's a seriously scary thought. But at the same time, it's very much needed because we know that a good percentage of people suffering from COVID are healthcare workers. So please do your part to help prevent the spread of this virus. Take it seriously, because we definitely are taking it seriously. On a more positive note, I just want to say thank you to all our community partners that have helped us in the hospital. It's very nice, even though there's a pandemic going on, it's nice to see how people here in Nebraska can come together to help each other. I know Metro Community College is making us 3D printing us face shields that we can use when we're caring for our COVID patients. Another 3D printed item that I got this week, this little thing, it kind of looks like a beret for your hair. It says stay strong. It's actually used to attach, and I have a cloth mask that someone made us to, a family member of the hospital made us. Attaches to the ear pieces here and kind of sits on the back of your head. It's kind of hard to demonstrate here. But it's just so that the straps don't dig into your ears, which is very nice. Another nurse's family members actually made the entire PCU unit's headbands with little buttons on the sides, and the buttons are again to help with the ear breakdown that occurs from wearing the masks all day. Thank you very much to Ashley's family. Not only did they make those headbands for us, but they also made us t-shirts, they sent snacks, just all kinds of goodies that they sent along for Ashley to bring to us. So we were definitely very overwhelmed by your generosity. I want to give a quick shout out to Kat, one of my coworkers on the floor. She also made us headbands with the buttons on them. She's kind, she's awesome. I love working with her. So thank you so much, Kat. Thanks for tuning in to this week's week 2 of Coronavirus Diaries. Leave your questions, comments, concerns down below.